Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out the Exodus 1200 from OUPES. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we have. Okay, when you first open the box, you're going to be greeted with a big piece of styrofoam. It looks like the Exodus 1200 user's manual. On the side here we have another bag that has the AC cord and the DC, looks like a car charging cord. And then we have the power station right here. All right, well, just getting this out of the box, my first impressions are, first of all, I like the design. I like the fact that it is flat with the handle on the back where you can carry it. And it is very portable, actually, for how big of a form factor it is. It's actually pretty portable. I think it's only like 23 pounds, so it's not really that heavy. It sports 992 watt hours of LiPo4 batteries, and it also has a 1200 watt inverter built in for AC power, which is pretty impressive. On the AC side, it does have 3 receptacles. All 3 of them are 20 amp max receptacles. On the DC side, it does have a 12 volt, 10 amp car port, cigarette lighter port. And then it also has 2 5521 ports that are also 12 volts at 10 amps. When it comes to the USBs, it does have 2 USB-As, which are the quick charge 3.0s, which I think can charge up to 18 watts max. And then it also has 2 USB-C power delivery ports, which are rated at 140 watts. And I believe that currently is the newest standard. So there aren't too many power stations that actually support 140 watt output on their USB-Cs. And then there are the 3 buttons underneath those. One is to turn on the AC, one's to turn on the DC, and then one is to turn on the IoT or the Internet of Things, which I'm guessing will turn on the Bluetooth and possibly the Wi-Fi capabilities of this power station. And then underneath all that, there is a power button. On the top, it is flat, like I said. You'll notice that there's no like wireless charging spots on here. So if that's something you're looking for, this is not the power station for you. On the sides, there is a grill for, this is probably the air out port, because I don't see a fan at all. And then there's also the solar input right here, which is a barrel plug, and it says 12 to 30 volts of input from your solar panel. Right here is your AC input, which is, it looks like a pretty standard AC input port. And then there's also an overload protection button right here. It's kind of like a circuit breaker for your AC side. The back is nothing besides the handle. This side, again, I don't see a fan. Oh, yeah, I do. Looks like there might be 2 fans right here for air intake. And then the bottom, it does have little rubberized feet, which is kind of nice. That way it stays put wherever you set it. And there's also a little label right here that kind of gives you more information about what this OUPES power station can do. And then the last thing I noticed is on the AC cover, there is this helpful tip little card here. And it says, for optimal performance, fully drain and recharge on first use to preserve battery life. Honestly, I've never done this. So I will go ahead and follow this tip, and I will turn this on and drain it all the way to 0. And then I will charge it all the way to 100%. And then I will do my DC and my AC efficiency tests to see how efficient each side of the unit is. All right, so let's go ahead and turn it on and see what we're looking at. Okay, you have to long press the power button. The fans do turn on for about a second, just probably for initial startup. And then you have a screen here that says 64%. So it was sent to me with a 64% state of charge. If we turn the AC on, Again, the fans do run, and then the AC side turns on. And the screen does show how many hours to expect to get out of this 64% on the AC side. It also says 60 hertz. There is a tiny pure sine wave symbol right there, and it does show 119 volts. And then the output in watts is on this side over here. If we turn on the DC side, we get more symbols that say everything is turned on. The DC, the car port, the USB-Cs, and the USB-As. So it shows everything that's on right now. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and put a load on this to completely discharge the unit. And then I will charge it all the way up to 100%. And then I will do my DC capacity test and my AC capacity test to find out the efficiencies. So as soon as I get those numbers, I'll get right back to you. All right, I just wanted to show you that I started the DC efficiency test. I'm doing a 5 amp draw, and the voltage is down to 11.4 volts. And the OUPES says that doing a 60 watt draw will take 13 hours. All right, well, the DC capacity test is done for the OUPES Exodus 1200. And out of 992 watt hours possible, the DC capacity test gave us 815.84 watt hours right there. And if you divide that out, it gives us an 82.15% efficiency rate. All right, and I also did an AC efficiency test, and it gave us 858 watt hours out of the available 992. We actually get a higher efficiency rate from the AC side than we do the DC side. All right, in this OUPES, it comes with a 1200 watt inverter, and it says that it can actually go up to 1500 watts. So we're going to go ahead and plug in a new wave, and that can do 600, 900, and 1300 watts of AC electricity. So we're going to run through all those and see how the OUPES handles it. All right, we got our new wave all ready to go. We got it plugged in right here. And we have our voltmeter right here. Let's go ahead and light it up. And so you can see that we have 120.9 to 121 volts currently. So let's go ahead and set this to 600 watts, set it on high, and hit start. And it quickly ramps up to 635 watts of usage. You can see our voltage is still very stable at 120.8, so that is very good. So let's go ahead and bump this up to 900 watts and see what happens. All right, 900 watts. The fans start turning on, and our voltage is still at 120.7. So at 900 watts at 120 volts, that's really good. But what I want to see is what happens when we reach 1300 watts, because I believe the voltage will start to drop and the amperage will start to go up. So let's go ahead and do 1300 watts right now. And it stopped at 1190. Voltage is still at 120. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in this 200 watt heater to give us more juice to see what happens. So let's go ahead and plug it in. Heater is turning on now. Oh, there we go. It's going up. The fans have increased. We're at 1300 watts. The voltage has gone down to 115. We're now at almost 1400, over 1400. Voltage is down to 110 or 111, which is still perfectly acceptable. And we're at 1400 watts right now. So if we lower this back down to 900, voltage goes back up to 120. We are now at 1100 watts. The fans are still on high. Oh, and now they just turn back down. Let's go ahead and bump this back up to 1300. Because this should be about 1500 watts of power right here. The water in this new wave is already boiling. And it stops at 1372. And our voltage is at 114, which is still, like I said, between 110 and 120 volts. That is perfectly acceptable for these kind of applications. So I'm going to grab something that's really going to push it over the edge. All right, let's turn off this heater. And we're going to plug in this heat gun instead. This is going to make it go overload. Let's see how quickly it overloads. And watch the voltage also. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to put it on low, which I believe is around 600 watts. Ooh, it did not like that. Voltage went down. And it overloaded. Boy, and it overloaded within like a second. And what I like is the fans stay on. So it will continuously cool even though the inverter turned off. So I do like that. And now the fans turn off and we are at an overload state. The E001 means that we have an AC overload. And all you need to do is press the AC button. And then if you press the AC button again, it does reset. All right. Well, I'm actually pretty impressed about how the AC worked on this unit. So right now what I'm doing is I've got this Elite Gourmet hot plate, and it delivers 1,000 watts. So we're pulling about 1,000 watts out of this unit right now. And I want to see, because I had it at 100%. And of course it's going to power everything at 100%. But what about at 20%? So I'm just going to let this thing run down to about 20%, and then we'll kind of see if it does anything different. And while it's running this 1,000 watts, and it's actually pulling, it's pulling that 85 watts to charge up that other power station, I'm going to go ahead and plug in this vacuum and see if it'll power it. This vacuum has been known to pull like 10 or 11 amps at 12 volts. So let's see if it can run it. And if it can't, then we'll go ahead and turn everything off and try it again. Okay, plugged in. Here we go. And we have an E010 and the DC side shut off. Luckily, in the manual, it has all of the error codes, so you don't have to go fumbling around on the internet to find out what that error is. And that error is cigarette lighter port overload. So I overloaded the cigarette lighter port with that vacuum. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this, turn this off. We'll clear the air, and now we'll see if it can run it. 3, 2, 1, go. It cannot. It can't run it. That's a bummer. I'm very surprised. Let me just prove to you that this can run. All right, and just to prove to you that this does run, I now have this Nervizi. It's only a 300 watt AC. I mean, it's a much smaller unit, but on the DC output, runs the fan. It runs the vacuum just fine. But on the OUPES, it won't run it. I'm actually very surprised by that. All right, I've got the OUPES down to 20% now, and I'm going to go ahead and recreate that AC test just to make sure that it can do the same things it did when it was at 100%. So let's go ahead and start up with 600 watts from the new wave. All right, we got 600 watts. We have 120 volts, which is perfect. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 900 watts. Fans turn on. It's sitting right at 900 watts with no problem. We're at 19%. AC voltage is still 120.7. So let's go ahead and bump it up to 1300 watts. And again, it stops right short of 1200 watts. Our voltage is still 120.6. And we are running this new wave at the 1300 watt level. So let's go ahead and turn on this fan to kind of give it a little bit more. Fan turns on. AC, the voltage starts going down. And it's going all the way past 1400 watts. And our AC voltage is down to about 111. But it's still running everything just fine. So I am really happy to see that the AC side can handle everything at 16% the same way it does when the unit was at 100% capacity. All right, the last test I got for you is to test the EPS function of this OUPES Exodus 1200. Now, I say EPS because that doesn't mean it's a true UPS. A true UPS system, it has a 0 millisecond transfer rate. But an EPS has about a 20 millisecond transfer rate. So in the documentation, it does say that you might not want to use this if you have it plugged into like a server or a very powerful workstation, something like that. But I do want to test it on this laptop. And you're probably thinking, well, that laptop has a battery. Well, it does, but that battery died many, many years ago. So it won't work if it's not plugged in. And I'll prove that after the fact. But what will happen is right now, it's charging at 540 watts. And we're actually using 56 watts. And that is being transferred directly from the AC to the laptop. So what will happen is if I unplug it, it should switch over directly to battery fast enough so this laptop doesn't turn off. So let's just go ahead and unplug the AC power right now from the wall and see if this laptop stays on. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and it worked. The EPS function does work just as it says it was. And just to prove to you that this laptop, the battery doesn't work on it, if I unplug it, laptop instantly turns off. All right, so what are my thoughts on the OUPES Exodus 1200? Well, I'm kind of mixed about the whole thing, actually. The AC side, man, it works well. It gives you that 120 volts, and it gives it to you all the way up to 1200 watts of continuous power. And then it starts to lower, but I mean, I was pushing, well, the items I was using should have added up to 1500 watts, but it only lowered that voltage down to like 111 volts, which is still just fine for the appliances that I was using. And those new waves, they can be kind of finicky when it comes to voltage. So I was pretty happy about that. And even when we dropped it down to like 20% and it got down to like 16, 17%, it did the exact same thing. So it doesn't matter if the battery capacity is real low or at 100%, you can expect that 120 volts of clean output. When it came to the DC side, I was kind of disappointed. When it came to the DC, the cigarette lighter, man, that I would have thought that would have been a no-brainer that would have worked. With the capacity of this and the AC amount of power that we're getting, I would have thought that would work just fine. But we were getting an overload from that vacuum where I could use a much smaller power station and it could handle it just fine. Now, people could say, well, the battery was at 55%, maybe it was the voltage was too low. That's not an excuse. I don't care. My power station should not be at 80 or 90% in order to use big DC devices. Another gripe I have is that I couldn't connect the app. Now, it could be my phone. I don't know. I also could not scan the QR code, but I could not connect to the app no matter what I did. I installed the app, I uninstalled the app, I did that twice, I cleared the cache, I cleared the data, I logged out, logged in. No matter what, the scan would not find the OUPES at all. So if you have any questions about the OUPES Exodus 1200, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. All right, and I'll have links to this item in my description, and I believe that I also have like a 5% discount code, which can seriously lower this thing all the way down to like $315, which is like 55% off what the regular cost is. I think that sale is going to go on, they said, until mid-February, but right now you can get this thing for $315, which is a steal when it comes to the AC side and the amount of watt hours that you're getting for this unit. So if you have any questions about the OUPES Exodus 1200, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'll have a link to this item and everything else I used in this video in my description. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.